A warm welcome to this panel discussion. This is a talk in a series hosted by Aritco Lift, where we discuss the future of the sustainable home and office. And I am delighted to soon introduce to you this amazing panel. My name is Li Pamp. I am the CEO of Stockholm's Auktionsverk, the world's oldest auction house, actually. And I spend my days helping people to recycle their art and antiques. I'm so glad to see you. This is my great panel.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thomas Sandell, welcome to you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Well-known Swedish architect, interior designer, founder of Sandell Sandberg.
Correct.
Yeah. You have many years in the business and you have many great perspectives, I think.
Hope so.
Which will touch these subjects. Håkan Nordin, welcome to you, Head of Sustainability at BOLON.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, more than 40 years in research of sustainability questions within companies.
Yes, that's how it is.
And David Schill,
Yes.
Marketing Director from Aritco Lifts.
Thank you so much.
How are you?
Good. This looks like a great panel and great talk, so I'm really looking forward to our session today.
Yeah.
And a great week.
For sure. For sure.
Well, David, starting with you then, because you, Aritco, you are very on these topics. You produce home lifts. Why is sustainability so important for you?
That's a good question, Lee. I think for any producing company today, of course, sustainability needs to be in really the focus. So many things are changing around us all the time, and we need to keep our eyes on this ball, I think. And of course, being a part of the natural development, people's homes, offices, their lives, we need to be on what is really engaging them. And of course, our products will always be a footprint somewhere, and we need to make that as sustainable as possible.
And with the British think tank agency, Springwise, you have created a report on, well, you explore the way sustainable design is impacting the places we live and work. This report will be sort of a, I hope that you have read it, because this will be sort of a, of a backdrop to this discussion today.
Yeah, sure.
Why is it that you think it's important to take all this research and put it together in a report?
I think it's always very important to understand what is happening all around you. Our products, of course, will be in different situations depending on how homes and how offices develop, and we need to understand what is the environment we're going to see our products into the future. I think that is one part for us to get more input, but it's also a good platform for us then to have an exchange of ideas, thoughts and views together with people like Håkan and Thomas and yourself, and create a melting point or a blending point of lots of ideas where we can actually then form new thinking and exchange ideas and send out, I think. So intake and then send out.
Clever. I think I will give each one of you a couple of minutes to introduce yourselves and well, your angle to this topic. Thomas, the floor is yours.
Well, to start with, I'm an architect, and I've been running my company now for more than 25 years.
And you were just 35. How come?
Yeah, I know. And I started as a baby. Well, anyway, and what I'm doing everything from small products to, city planning, or urban planning. That's what I'm always wanted to do, and now after 25 years, I'm doing it. And a couple of examples of what I'm being a quick brief. And this is, as you see on the image here, is a building. That's an entrance building for a wildlife park south of Sweden. Amazing place called Eriksberg. And the entrance building, my idea was to have it should have a little bit like a curtain. When you enter a stage, you always you wanted to look out. Is the audience here, or what's
Yeah.
happening behind
Yeah.
the curtain? So my idea is that it should be a little curtain.
It's really a,
Yeah,
a curtain feeling
yeah,
of it.
curtain
Yeah.
feeling
Yeah.
of that house. And I love to, and also to develop the vernacular architecture. It's always been one of my ideas to deal with architecture. And this is actually from the same site. It's like a mirage. It's a building that will disappear, but at the same time has the connection with the history, as you can see on the dried grass roof there. It's a typical local way of dealing with a roof from the 16th century. They've been doing these kind of roofs, and to combine it with a high-tech material, in this case bubbly stainless steel facade. And actually this is a food station for the wild animals. So it has a glass floor, so you can actually
Very fancy.
Yeah, you can actually sit there and look at the animals when they are feeding.
Wow.
So this is also a beautiful place, and we did all the interiors and the furniture and stuff. And this is something completely different. This is a high-tech building. This is the Ericsson studio in Kista. This is the new entrance building for them, which is radio waves in three-dimensional shape.
Beautiful.
That's also quite and
What material?
It's aluminum if you're American, and of course recyclable as it is.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I love my work.
Yeah.
We can
or my
see
profession.
that.
Sorry.
You're passionate.
My profession.
But in the area of constructing architecture wisely, what is your greatest challenge?
My greatest challenge is that my buildings will last not maybe forever, but at least 100 years. So architecture and perspective, historical buildings last long. So, I mean, more than 100 years, hopefully. So my contribution now to the architecture, I have a responsibility that my buildings will last longer than myself.
Okay, Håkan.
Yes.
I will give also you a couple of minutes to introduce yourself. I can, though, say that I know that you have a great insight in and a wide knowledge about sustainability, because you have behind you, you have held roles at as a member of Greenpeace Sweden. You've been the manager and board member in Greenpeace Sweden and a policy advisor to Greenpeace. You have had expert roles in various delegations and committees for the Swedish government. And you have also been an advisor for big companies like H&M and IKEA. So I'm looking forward to talk to you, really. You have experience, really. This is a guru. We have high respect for you.
Thank you. It's really a privilege to have that history, been working with sustainability my whole full life. In the base, I'm an organic chemist up from Umeå University, but then I've been working with sustainability for SSI plus 30 years in all kind of situations. And now, the last 3 years, I'm head of sustainability at BOLON.
Yes.
I'm really glad of being that. I love the company and where we are heading when it comes to sustainability.
It must have been hard in the beginning when you started, because you were not in fashion then.
Nope.
But now you are.
No, I have to say, when I was working at Greenpeace, and then I stopped Greenpeace, and I said, now I'm going to be an environmental consultant. It didn't exist.
No.
So the telephone was ringing to me because there was no environmental consultant in Sweden. So the first years, the phone was just ringing, Håkan, help us.
Yeah.
So it was actually, that's how it started in the 90s.
What the market.
Yeah, we're good at recruit at BOLON.
Yeah.
Please,
I will start with this very moment. I will say we launch our new collection Truly, and we have a picture of it here, I guess. When we have this, we launch collection a couple of times a year, and all collection, this collection and all other collection has the same environmental performance, and I think that's unique. Because you have in many companies and many products, when you go and buy your milk, you have ecological milk and you have normal milk. But we just have the same green standard, green performance on everything we produce. So truly, and everything else has the same. So when you are a customer and coming to us and choose your design, you can choose freely, because it always comes with the same environmental performance. For example, 26% recycled material, like in this trolley. So that's the thing we are very proud of. And then we set ourselves that we need a direction. And now we're coming to, we're going to have a vision. And we said to ourselves, we're going to offer supreme products, because we are in the supreme product range, to the market. That is a part of circular material flow, which is safe for human and nature and has no climate impact. And that's a bold or visionary thing. But you need to dig it down to also have you say, crispy numbers. And then we said, let's have a promise. And the promise you see here is the climate circular promise. And we said to ourselves, no later than 2028, we will halve the climate impact from the full value chain, from raw material to after use. At the same time, we're going to go at least 50% circular in everything we sell.
You have 6 years left.
6 years left, yes.
Will you reach this goal?
It's interesting, because just now, this moment, I think we've gone down 23% when it comes to climate and 26% when it comes to circularity. So we are halfway, and we have 6 years more to go. It's a tough one.
Yeah, but it's very impressive, Håkan.
Yeah, thank you. I have, you see here, I have the one thing. This is maybe not the little bit boring picture, but I'm really proud of it, because this we in 2014 we built an integrated recycling plant in our factory in Ulricehamn, Sweden, where we produce everything we do. And then we said to ourselves, let's have an integrated recycling plant. And this is, I think, it's a strategic base to be circular. We have it in-house, we can do it. Just now we have 5 different kind of waste streams that we blend together to all the time get same high quality in every square meter around the year that we produce and we sell. So we have gone the last 5 years. We have gone from 100 tons of recycled material, which we thought were a lot at that time, and now we have 1,000 tons in 2021. That's in this recycling plant. So then this 1,000 tons. It's 20 big trucks coming in a year with recycled material.
Can I ask you, is this driven by the market or is it driven by yourself?
I think it's a really strong market out there.
Yeah.
But I think we started in 2014. We need to have this. We want to have it. But now in 2021, the market said, okay, is it circular? Can we send it back?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Now it's commercial.
Yeah, like I said, this last 5 years. So now it's really commercial.
That's interesting.
When we ask our sales staff and partners around the globe, they say that the most important point is for selling is sustainability. It's on the top just now. And that's interesting.
Yeah.
I have to say, I think it's a very interesting thing is that we had 4 pilots taking back used floor, because that's the next challenge. Our BOLON used floor, and then we made new floors from the material. We cut it down and we blended it.
Let's go back to talk about waste a little bit later in this panel.
We get engaged.
Thank you very much, Håkan. There's a lot to hang on to.
Yeah.
I will just share the time, equally, because David also has something to say, don't you?
Of course, always.
So go ahead, please.
No, but I think you are onto something really interesting here, Håkan. I think that is our biggest challenge after the ones that we have had in focus right now. And if we start looking into where we have had our focus, I think our product at first, I think we have a picture on that one where you can see that the big contribution actually is just having a product that does not need any more construction around it. Yeah, we don't, by using our product itself, you take away a lot of building material. And as we know, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it, construction is really a big thief in here. Yes. And we need to change the ways of doing construction in the future. And the second part, when we look at the pictures, I think we're really into how then... I think we have a new picture. The transportation for us.
This is your factory.
This is our factory, and here, just like you mentioned, Håkan, you have to somewhat step into a change and drive a little bit of the start of the change for the company in the behaviors of your customers. We just launched last year a new refund system. So we only use then recyclable material, like this wooden crates, wooden boxes, and they can become flat packs. And our customers, they pay for them, but they also get the return. They get the refund if they send them back. So then we use them again and again and again, which makes it then suddenly a little bit of a recycling system of its own in its small perspective. And I think the other part, the last part that we're working hard and have worked hard with is actually to create a zero emission energy plant. And when we look at the plant today, we are actually, through solar cells and thermal heat, possible to keep it on zero energy waste. And that is quite few plants around, at least in Sweden, that is possible to keep it on that level. I guess Håkan and the BOLON team are probably already there, since our next step is to try to do what you are doing. Where can we recycle? How do we get the recycled material? Do we need a recycle station of our own, as you have? I think that is really a lodestar that you are doing. Yeah.
Yeah, we are already on to the very core of this topic.
Yeah,
yes.
For sure.
The future of the sustainable office and homes. Yeah, and if you would like to, let's pinpoint one or two key trends that you see with your own business as a reference, what would you say are the strongest, the key trends right now? Thomas, for example.
Well, one strong trend now is that when we do apartment buildings, what we see now, which is very strong, that the apartments they are getting bigger.
Bigger.
Yeah.
How big?
I mean, 2 years ago, before the pandemic, they wanted us to do one-bed apartments because you could always sell them because they were very commercial, and it's always in need of one-bed apartments.
Especially in the big cities.
Especially in big cities. But now, today, it's at least 2 bedrooms.
Okay.
At least. Or maybe, 2 living rooms, 1 bedroom and one extra room. So
because people work from at home.
They work from at home, and they want to live bigger spaces actually, and it was almost forbidden.
Is this only in Sweden? Sorry to interrupt you.
No. The trend is actually we know because we have done this research investigation also in Denmark, Norway, Finland, Holland, and Germany.
Wow!
So and we also know
in the rich countries.
In the rich countries, and we also know that young people are from 18 to 35. So
okay,
we are past it. Yeah. Don't remind us
briefly. Anyway, so and they don't want to live in a city that is bigger than 1 million inhabitants. So it's very out of fashion to live in Stockholm, for instance.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, and 12%, only 12% can imagine to live in Stockholm. 88% wants to live in a city, a small city or a town, which are less than 100,000 people.
Wow.
And you say that this is also an international phenomenon.
Very international phenomenon. So, and we're talking about a 15 minutes
Exactly.
city, which, 15 minutes everything.
Yeah.
To work, to friends, to schools, and, to football practice at night.
Yeah.
So that is a very strong trend. So the small cities and towns around Western is very fashionable at the moment. It's very trendy not to move to Stockholm or Gothenburg
Really
or Copenhagen.
Yeah.
So that's something new.
Håkan, what key trends do you see from your perspective?
Yeah, from my perspective, working sustainability, I think that the driven force with the climate and the climate change and the debate around that, because you see trace of it all over, because you see, electrical car is rising like this. You have the battery factory up in the northern part of Sweden now, and you have renewable energy. You have solar panels on private housing, and you have the big windmills and so on. So, and around the how to reduce CO2 emission, how to fight climate change. There, I think there's a lots of technology, business, and so on. Just business we have to deliver our climate footprint for 1 square meter of floor, and there you have consultants that calculate this for us as well.
So you mean that these innovations are climate driven?
Yeah,
is that what you're?
100%.
Yeah,
100% climate driven.
Yeah.
So there's a huge amount of money going this direction now. The investment and so on.
So climate driven, yes. And if you'd seen another trend, what would that?
I think another trend would be circularity, and I would say that the circularity is also very closely related to climate, but so far not so much in debate. But you see, for our point of view, I think if we recycle 1 kilogram material, we save 2 kilograms of CO2. So it's really a good thing to really reduce climate with circularity. Just now we see circularity here and climate here, but there really is a good match.
And what's your take?
I would like to join in on the circularity here with Håkan. I think we discussed it a couple of times now the last days, and what's I think is really amazing is the speed of how circularity have taken off. It takes off in different ways in different generations. You can see the youngsters, they are only shopping second hand, they reuse, they buy their furniture and they don't trash the furniture, they sell off the furniture to buy new things. So they have one mindset. Old guys like me, we look for the BMW with the PET bottles, plastic bottles that are now made into floor mats in the car and think that, oh, this is cool, we are part of circularity. So there is things
that is
happening.
Funny how these BMW now market that as a unique selling point. That is a part of the brand.
It's premium.
It's premium. The PET bottles.
That's a change.
That's a change.
And I think these step changes, I think it will only, it will go on and it will increase in tempo and there will be a lot of new stuff.
How do you circulate buildings?
Well, buildings, I think you should do buildings so they are long lasting. And one example is, take the industrial buildings in Stockholm, for instance, built 1895, and they were designed so there should be a lot of lights. So
factories.
Sorry. So the windows are quite big, and the ceiling height is quite high, so they could easily move around the machinery and also have a good air. And when these factories were out of fashion, problematic to have them right in the middle of the city, they had to move out, and then the artist moved in, and later
for studios,
for studios, and later advertising agencies, and then later lawyers, and then 10 years later, they became residentials, beautiful apartments, and marked very high up in in the value chain, and they were quite expensive, and people love them. So that's the best way of dealing with architecture. Do buildings that will never be demolished, but at the same time they should have width and ceiling heights and light. Then you can reuse them many times, instead of office buildings from the 80s that were turned down, demolished in after 20 years. Totally.
They're so purpose built, so you can't really use
exactly,
it for anything else. Yeah.
Single room, for and low ceiling heights. Useless.
Yeah.
Useless.
We were touching this about who drives it, who drives this development, politics or the market, because who should be responsible of the speed of this development? What's your take, David?
I think it goes a little bit two-handed here. I think there needs to be a platform, there needs to be an incentive to actually drive different types of changes. And that can, from my point of view, that can only be driven by and inspired by different types of politician decisions, political decisions. Look at the trend, early trend of changing the different ways of choosing car in Norway, going from going to electric, etc. So that was really in a way an incentive-driven change. But if there is no market, and the market does not really recognize the incentive, then there will be no change anyhow. So you really need to see also that the market, this is an incentive that really works for the market. Otherwise, it's not going to happen anyhow.
Waste and material is a far larger threat to the environment than transport, for example, that we have been focusing on so much. How come that we haven't talked enough about material and waste?
It's very interesting that you bring it, because every time I get the question, because what do you do about transport? And how the transport must be the worst. And then I tell them for BOLON, for example, I think the transport is less than 10% of the climate footprint. 80% is material related. And if you buy a computer, I would say 5% will be transport and the rest will be the thing itself. So that's how it is, our production of it. But the transport itself, it's normally 5-10% when it comes to a product. So I think we need to have a change, because I think we're going to be 10 billion people on this planet very soon. And then we need to have a better life with less kilogram material, because that will be efficient. So renewable energy and less kilogram material for a good life.
Let me read some figures from the report, because this is also in your field. Construction, as we know, is notoriously bad for the environment. And according to the report, this sector is responsible for 23% of air pollution, 50% of climatic change, 40% of drinking water pollution, and 50% of landfill waste globally.
Sorry.
Yeah. But this is an urgent matter.
Yeah, it is.
Concrete.
Yeah.
Concrete, yes.
Yeah.
Steel.
Yeah. Iron.
The positive.
Iron and steel, we have to find new ways to produce them.
Exactly.
Green concrete we're talking about.
Yeah.
And green steel.
And green steel.
Yes.
And what is it? I mean, to those who haven't...
I think green steel is that you have a chemical process that don't contribute to climate change. So instead of you have the CO2, you're going to have hydrogen, and then you have water instead, and so on. So you don't emit CO2 when producing steel, which has been all over the world, and globally. It's the way you produce steel. But now you have with hydrogen gas instead.
Yeah, hydrogen gas is also the source when you could do
the concrete.
So it's things are happening. Right
Yeah,
now.
and I think that is a trend I really, really see, and out of our report we can really, really follow. It's the amount of innovation that is happening within, development of materials of different kinds. And I think that's really, really a positive sign from my point of view.
Oh yeah.
And also, which is quite interesting, all these things are happening, up north in Sweden.
Yeah,
The
suddenly.
green steel.
Suddenly.
Suddenly, they want people to move back.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah,
True.
let's talk about technology and innovations. I know, Håkan, that you see that climate-driven innovations, that's much stronger than the circular.
Yes.
So what kind of innovations do we see in the climate-related area? Climate environment.
I think we've been discussing it now because you're having the green steel, because you're having the electrical car, you're having the batteries, the Northvolt up in Sweden,
The solar panels
and so on, and the tremendous development when it comes to solar
wind
panel.
power.
Yeah, and how cheap it is per kilowatt hour. Today, the cheapest way of produce energy is renewable. That's the cheapest way to produce energy all over the world, in all countries.
And that is so cool when we see innovations also combining different things like this. You have solar cells on your windows, because you already have to have the windows there, of course, and you combine it with a solar cell mechanism, or where you use actually the building walls to actually pick up thermal heat, or all of these innovations, even if they're in their small cradle right now, I think,
Which is, of course,
really
great,
interesting.
but I'd like to focus on the problems, because the innovations are weaker within circularity.
Much weaker.
Much weaker.
And
yes.
I think also, when it comes to material circle, to circular material, you also coming is, when we say we're going to take back our floor in the future, we expand the business. Because our floor is sold out there, and we don't have the responsibility any longer, or we don't know where they are. We don't know when they're going to change the floor, but we want to have it back, or we want to make new resources out of it. And that's, you expand your business, and it's a tricky thing to do. And then you don't have the good material streams, converting used product, used building into new resources that you can buy and make new things. There we have just started.
Explain to me the difference between chemical and technical recycling.
Yeah. So technical or mechanical recycling is that you take home, for example, a plastic, and then you mold it down and trying to clean it up, and then you make a new plastic out of it. But if you have in the chemical way, you take the plastic and you cut it down in small pieces that it was in original, the monomers, and then you can make a new plastic with exactly the same quality and cleanness as the first one. So the mechanical way is an easier way, but not as clean, can't have the best quality. But the chemical one, you can have it. But we've been talking about chemical recycling, I think, in 20 years. Still, it starts to take up. When it does, I think we will look deeply into it. Maybe we can then have the chemical recycled polymers in our weave. Just now we're putting recycled material in the backing, which is 70% of the floor.
And talking about plastic, I read somewhere that 90% of the plastic is actually fired up.
Yep.
90.
90%.
Yeah, and that's not good. In a country,
It's alarming.
Yeah,
It's alarming.
alarming more than that. If you see in a country like Sweden, when we have so much waste combustion, we have the incineration plant for the waste. 6% of the total amount of CO2 in Sweden is coming from burning plastic. 6% of the total emission of CO2. It's a huge thing.
So we lack still innovations in this area of circularity, right?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, material recycling and I think also not just technology, because the business and the infrastructure to have the more circularity around the material, we need to have that happen.
Thomas, you also design furniture, as mentioned.
Yes, yeah.
you should know, I'm reading also from this report, which I love figures. And according to your report, in 1960, the US sent 2 million tons of furniture to landfill. Today, Americans throw away 12 million tons of furniture every year. This is an increase that far outpaces the country's population growth. How shall we make people not throw their furniture?
The answer is again, do high quality stuff. I think, and to be, this is also a trend. I mean, one of the, if you're a young person today, and if you think of what shall I do in the future, be a very skilled cabinet maker. That's the profession of the future, because I mean,
that would also be my advice.
Exactly.
But however, if the production still is cheaper than the recycling, how do we motivate these consumers?
I think we see a trend now. Is looking for office or professional. You see that there is a more and more second-hand market, refurbishing and resale. You have it on computers nowadays. You're going to can buy a pre-owned mobile phone. Smartphone pre-owned. So I see that due to the technology development, when you have the digital platform in your hand, in your smartphone, you also see that this trend of selling second-hand, as we said, but now it's resale, refurbishing and resale, and you see there's a growing market here.
But I also see that because Thomas, you said in the beginning of this talk that you have a demand on apartments with a few more rooms.
Yeah.
And then I hear that we shall not buy so many pieces of furniture, but high quality furniture.
Yes.
And then I hear that we will build for generations to exchange. Are we going backwards? Are we going more towards what we were in 1950s or 1960s, where you bought things more seldom, where you had more doors to close in your home, when you could, I mean...
A quick answer, yes.
Yes. And I'm not against it. I mean, you know, combined with the modern technology, I think, you know, there's a great future in this.
Of course, it's also going to be in a new way, because the you know, evolution is always stepping forward, stepping a little bit back, and then forward again. So maybe we're now stepping back a little bit, but we learn from the past into the future. So maybe at this moment in evolution, we are getting back a little bit.
Well, think about
step back and then 2 steps forward again.
If you see the office space now, when we are less time at the office and we have these flexible working places, then you see that the office space is actually shrinking. It's opposite.
Absolutely.
So
they are the you know, we don't do these large single rooms any longer. Smaller ones, you know, for phone calls and concentrated work. They're much smaller. And I remember when I started in the business, we calculated that every person at the office should have 25 square meters. Today, we are at 13, half of it.
Wow.
Hey guys, it's time to wrap up this talk. No, don't be. It's really interesting, but the time is limited. Life expectancy of a sustainable house, you said it, 100 years.
Yes, at least.
At least. And what would you say, a BOLON carpet?
Yeah, BOLON carpet has a kind of warranty of 10 to 15 years, but I think that our floor will survive 30 years as well, but you know, people will change, and then there come a new person who rents the space and so on. But then we won't have it back. Maybe we're going to rent the leasing the floor in the future, so we can have it back, and in few years, but still with no impact.
Clever idea.
Fantastic idea. Yeah.
And an Aritco Lift, what's the life expectancy?
We just extended our warranties, just like you, pushing the boundaries of warranties, drive systems, 10 years, etc. And I think we're just in the beginning of pushing that, because if you service things, you take care of things, as you say, Thomas, you maybe change a little bit of the ingredients in it in a building, it turns into another type of use. I don't see why our lifts could not go on as in the same way as your houses. We started 1995. We don't have 100 years of record, but we still have a vision. Yeah, absolutely. But we still have lifts that we installed 1995, and they're still in there. So, and of course, you see these old building with all these fence lifts, etc. They're over 100 years old, very well serviced, and of course they are working today.
And we love them.
Yeah,
high quality.
They are for real.
Thomas, I will test you. Have nothing in your houses that you do not know to be useful or believe to be beautiful. Who said it?
Well, it can be many. Is it old or is it new?
He's by the turn of the last century. It's a he, and he's not from Sweden.
Well, of course, Josef Frank is, of course.
Could be, but this is another textile designer, British
textile designer.
I'm glad you don't ask me.
Okay, I'll make the pain short. It's William Morris.
Yeah, I thought, yes.
One of the favorites. And this might be this famous last word might round up this talk. Maybe we would now include or intend to be circular to this sentence. What do you say? Something that you have nothing in your houses that you do not know to be useful or believe to be beautiful or intend to be circular.
That's a great vision. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Thank you for coming here and joining me for this panel. Thomas Sandell, Håkan Nordin, David Schill.
Thank you.
And thank you, all of you who have watched this panel discussion. Great to have you with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.